All right.
1 second. Here we go.
Awesome. Fantastic. We are live here. Welcome everybody to our Just Two Dads, our weekly podcast that Shawn Francis and I do. We are so proud to be able to share today's episode with you. Every week we spend some time, and really this whole thing started because we literally were just two dads of kids who had special needs issues, and we were chatting about the things that special needs families deal with, they struggle with. We are both in the financial services world, and so the work that we do help families with their finances, how they make money, keep it, grow it, hold on to it, those kinds of things. And while every family in this country could use that kind of financial support, there's an additional pressure, there's additional needs that families who deal with special needs issues have. And so as we began this effort in our company to focus on financial services to support special needs families, we found that in the communication with so many families, members that we're a part of that community as well, and folks that are a little outside of our circle and growing, that the concerns that most families have transcend the world of special needs. And so we have found ourselves in a position where we just want to talk about those things that affect families who have special needs issues, but highlight the warriors out there. And we use that word, and we probably overuse that word, but in our minds, families that are people that are out there working and fighting on the front line for special needs families truly are warriors. And so we've made sure to spend some of our time on our weekly podcast celebrating those people who have done things for the special needs communities, to let the rest of the world see the impact, see the value, see the commitment, the dedication, and really what it takes, and how the empathy and love, again, it transcends the world of special needs. So today we are really both blessed, and I joked about this a little bit beforehand because I'm a born and raised Angelino in Los Angeles, and so last night, for those who know, the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series championship after 32 years, and so a little bit of a fanboy coming out. I'll try to contain myself, but Jim Gott, who was a member of the Dodgers baseball team for many years back in the 80s, and his wife Kathy, who has really led the charge in developing a couple things we're going to talk about today, Danny's Farm and the Village. And so Jim and Kathy, we're so blessed and honored to have you here, and thank you for taking the time to spend it with Shawn and I today.
Thank you. We feel the same. Thank you, guys.
Good, great. Well, so let's let people have an idea. And Shawn's on delay, so we said that Shawn's calling in from Moscow. It's not really that far away, but he's on his satellite. The satellite's hovering over his house, and it's a little slow on the uptake, I guess. And maybe it's the smoke in the air. I don't know what it is, but
this problem will be removed next week.
We've said that every week, by the way, for the last few weeks, but that's good. We're good. Yes. But Jim and Kathy, tell us a little bit about your family, because I know that you have a couple of children that are on the autism spectrum, and what drove you to do the work that you're doing now, and it's so broad reaching, the work that you're doing. But let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you and how you guys got started, and your story is amazing.
You want to start? Whatever. So when I met Jim in 1990. And he was pitching for the Dodgers. It was very exciting, kind of like officer and a gentleman kind of thing, very romantic romance. And Jim likes to tell people after we met and married in 3 months, and then he told me he had 4 children. So, but that's really not true. I did meet kids, I knew there were kids, and I was madly in love, and I love his kids, and we started out with 4 kids inherited to me. So Jim's firstborn son, his second child, was having a lot of developmental issues, and Jim's first wife had, all 4 of the kids full time, and then we had them in the summer and things of that nature. But when they left our house the first summer and went back home, it was clear that it was just too much, and she asked if we would, help look into his developmental issues. We had no idea what was wrong. Of course, in those days, everybody thought it was your hearing, and he had tubes in his ears, and why he wasn't responding, because autism wasn't a very well-known developmental issue back in those days.
Right.
So CJ came to live with us shortly thereafter, and he was not long before he was diagnosed with, at the time they called it PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disability not otherwise specified.
So I'm going to jump in here really quick. The first night he moved in with us, we tucked him into the room that he had been in during the summer. We had a few other rooms around the house, and Kathy and I went to bed and woke up like we normally had done. The season was over with, and we woke up, and I just very happily went over to CJ's room, and CJ wasn't in the room. His room was destroyed. All of his mattress was up and all over the place. Everything was all over the place, and he was nowhere to be found. I went to the twins' rooms.
He was 3.
He was 3. The twins' room. The twins were a little bit. They were 1 year old, and they were gone. But the room that we had used for them, I went in there, and the powder was all over the room, and the Desinex looked like it was a Sidney Pollack, artwork on the wall. And I'm like, oh my God, where is he? So I went downstairs, and I ended up finding him in the pantry of our kitchen with everything pulled down, and he had his hand in the Captain Crunch and had a beautiful smile on his face. Hey, Dad. And he couldn't speak at the time, but it was like,
he was hungry.
I found him.
He was hungry, and he didn't know how to come in and get us or communicate. He just went to the food. So we were relieved. Like, where
so happy with the house.
Was there a home invasion and we didn't know it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the honeymoon kind of ended right there.
And then at that point, you knew that there were. We're getting Shawn a little bit of a laugh delay, but at that point, you knew that this was tied to some of the developmental issues.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, when he came for the summer, we didn't know what the issue was, but we started speech therapy because he had no language, and occupational therapy because he had so many sensory, you could just tell we knew nothing about this world, and we were so excited to be connected to these people who provide these incredible services, before he got diagnosed or anything. And so he was getting a little bit of intervention, but it was, 8 weeks or something that he stayed with us, and then he was, going back to stay with his mom. But when he returned to live with us, that's when kind of the, this deep dive learning curve of, all the services and early interventions and how to find a school and so many, just an entirely new world with which we were not familiar.
Did you find access to those resources easy at that time, or did you have to really dig? Like, who guided you on this?
It's so funny because we're actually visiting her, and we're at her house right now. There's a incredible advocate named Lori Waldinger. I don't know if you know Lori, but I met Lori when I was finished undergrad. I worked at an agency as a 22-year-old girl, and Lori was on the board. And I just admired her. I thought, wow, when I grow up, I want to be on a board someday and do things like that. But so I knew her, and we'd stay friends. So she was my first phone call, and I cannot tell you how incredible that was, because she immediately connected me to Ricky Robinson, who had started one of the very first autism programs at Villa Esperanza. At the time, it was just like this cutting edge, small classroom. And after CJ had been asked to leave public schools, and it was awful. Like he was so hyperactive, he just could not sit still. And it was really tough to serve him. They accepted him, and he was really beginning to show some progress with the speech and the OT, but all this was as a result of being connected to the right person early on. And then it just sort of snowballed from there.
So I'm going to keep interjecting the comedy of
good.
So again, I'm playing baseball, and we have my son is living with us, and I'm calling, hey, honey, I'm in New York. We just played the Mets. I'm going to eat at the Tavern on the Green. Everything's wonderful. And what are you doing? I just came back from Mommy and Me. We were there for 10 minutes when they asked everybody to huddle up and be in a circle. CJ was he was just all over the place and jumping all over and saliva going everywhere and couldn't stay in the circle.
Yeah, that was the jumping on the trampoline moment when CJ started twirling with drool. And I mean, it was like a
Save for no art, right?
It
It's like, oh my gosh. So again, I'm hearing about all of this and like, talk about warrior women. Ooh, warriors, geez. So I kept doing, it was thing after thing, and God bless Kathy. She was like, we're going to find the right fit somewhere. Went to a Montessori school. He goes there for a day, and he's asked out of time after time. Kathy's getting a phone call, come and pick him up, or when you're picking him up after the full day, this isn't the right place for him. Let's move on. So when Kathy was able to find this pilot program that was happening at Villa Esperanza here in Pasadena through Ricky Robinson that created this class, unbelievable teachers. We drop him off and kind of cringe. Okay, here's our phone numbers and everything.
No cell phones.
And then they had a full day, and so we go together to go pick him up. We're in the line picking him up, and we're like, okay, I'm getting little chills right now. But Kathy Holloman, this incredibly gifted teacher who we're still very connected with, walks him over to the door, walks him over to the car, opens up the back door, helps him get seat belted in, looks at us and goes, what a great kid.
Oh my God.
With him. This is the perfect place for him to be. Thank you for bringing him. And wow.
So
what a treat. Oh my God. That's amazing.
So before Danny's Farm or the Village, which is the latest thing, we started a center, Kathy and I.
Kathy.
Kathy.
I drove Kathy a couple places. It picks things up.
And
I get it.
So we started a center. It's called Autism Spectrum. It's in Altadena, and we're almost 25 years serving the community, primarily social skills groups for adults and children, all kinds of neat programs, and a lot of training that goes on with school districts. And we are about to launch. I have to share this because it's very exciting. Did you guys see, Shawn, you're not allowed to talk, but Brian, did you see Love on the Spectrum, that Netflix series?
You know what? I did not see it. I know about it, though. I did not see it, but I have.
Wow.
Like, we resist because we're like, I mean, how much autism can you have in your life, right? It's enough already. I don't need to watch a movie about it. Yeah. But we couldn't stop watching it and fell in love with it like everybody else. But it sparked, not just with me, but some incredible other parents. Denise Longo and I started talking about, we got to do something like this. Can we have dating coaches and speed dating activities for all this fun stuff? So we're partnering with the Ed Asner Family Center, Foothill Autism Alliance, and Education Spectrum, and you'll be getting materials soon. We start mid-December, and we're doing all of those things. So we are collecting names. I'll get you guys the link, and you can share
Fantastic.
it. 18 and older to just be on the list, and then we'll decide which groups are the best fit.
That's amazing. Shawn and I were guests for on Matt and Nava's show on their podcast as well. So love them and the work that they're doing. Amazing people. Great. Amazing people. So that's amazing.
And it wasn't a delay like this either.
We'd have we use the same system and we weren't delayed. I don't know. We have to figure it out. Shawn's gonna you just sit there and look pretty, Shawn. Just sit there and look pretty. Just a smile, then we're all good. Shawn, you can text me. There you go. So you can text me your questions if you want me to ask something specific. But Kathy, that original program that you started is still in place?
It's still there. Kathy and I are still partners, and we have an amazing team there, and I'm happy to share that. It's all regional center vendors, so it's great. And
fantastic.
Okay, so before I have so much to say, you're going to have to reel me in.
I love it. No, do it. This is all you. Yeah.
I just have to mention that and I think all vendors need to hear this, that we are self-determination friendly, which means, as you may or may not know, that starting July 1st of next year, got moved to July 1 with the new fiscal year, the regional center will have 2 service delivery systems. The traditional way we're used to getting services, and something brand new called, not that self-determination is new, it's just new to our regional center system. And it's, I don't want to go into a huge explanation, but it offers families much more choice. You don't have to go with vendored agencies. It opens it up to any inclusive agency or organization or recreational, whatever it is that fits with your goals on your IPP. It's revolutionary, and I could do a whole hour, I could do 10 hours on that. But with respect to vendors, don't be afraid of self-determination. It only broadens your ability to serve families in much more creative ways. And people who are not vendored and want to serve this community will have opportunities to do that. So it's pretty cool. So
that's fantastic.
So we're regional center vendored, and we say self-determination friendly. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's move into Danny's farm. How did that come about? I don't know. Is there something in between where you?
Not really.
Is that the next?
It's sort of everything that's been created is based on our experience. So and then Dan, well, by the way, there's something very big did happen there. Yeah, CJ was diagnosed, by the time he got the diagnosis was 91. And then our son Danny was born in 93. And then our first son together. And then Danny was diagnosed by 1995. And then we have one more child, Nick, who's the baby of all 6. But Danny was diagnosed the same year that Nick was born. So now we had 2 on the spectrum. And so our connection to this, and I like to be really honest, like CJ is such a love. That's Jim, he has a mom and he has a dad. And I was sort of a social worker kind of caregiver role, because I'm not his mom. And I was a little bit more objective, I would say. It's just different. It wasn't, I didn't carry all of those emotions that I carried with Danny's diagnosis of the guilt and what happened and why, all that stuff that we go through that kind of grief process of that. Hopefully I've certainly gotten there. I got there a long time ago, thank God, to acceptance, where it's just like, wow, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love our kids just the way they are, and it makes us such better people. But I went through all of the stages, just like every other healthy person. So anyway, so I had to digress by saying we had 2.
It's good. You were a bonus mom, by the way. We call that first situation, you were a bonus mom. He had a mom, and then you had a bonus mom. Right? Okay. I love that.
So that's how Education Spectrum came about, because at the time there were very few social programs and opportunities for kids on the spectrum to get together. There were schools, this was all brand new, programming and training teachers how to have effective, both inclusive and special day classes. And already Kathy and Diane Howard and the wonderful people we started with, they're still out in the school districts training, it's huge need, that based on those needs at those times that we didn't have. So when Danny was a teenager, started thinking about, wow, what's it going to be like afterwards? Where is he going to work? What's he going to do? And Danny just has always had this incredible affinity for animals. And one of the only places we could get him to get up without, forcing, like with an antecedent, behavior mod 101, I call it bribing, but whatever. And like, get in the car, let's go, was a petting farm. So that was and I love animals too. So we started a petting farm in Danny's name, and it's still beautiful and going strong. We hire and have wonderful volunteer opportunities, very inclusive for adults with developmental differences. And it's located at in Sunland, Shadow Hills particular, and we are so lucky to be on the property where Special Spirit is. And Special Spirit, another wonderful organization, does equine therapy and therapeutic horseback riding. So the petting farm and the clients that we have and the employees and then all the people who take horseback riding lessons, and I mean, it's just one amazing community. It's so gorgeous. It's been
Beautiful.
tough. You know, we had all kinds of field trips and visitors, and we have a mobile farm, and we were out in so many schools. In particular, we reach out to, you know, the most vulnerable children, and we get sponsors for that. Everything's been virtual. That's just the way we've had to go. But we are having a lot of fun with the virtual field trips, because we just did a field trip. We've done 2 on the East Coast now.
Wow.
You can do them anywhere. That's what's fun. And our wonderful staff members parade the animals, and then Danny tells facts, and there's lots of questions and answers, and the animals always do something funny. And we're just doing the best we can in the pandemic situation. But yeah,
Sure.
That's the story of Danny.
So one thing that I'd like to share about that whole thing was that ever since Danny was 12, 13 years old, Cathy had always reminded him, Danny, you're going to be living on your own someday. You're going to have a job outside the home. You're going to get all the support you need, but you will be independent. So Cathy always, from 12 on, Danny was way much more capable of understanding that and doing that than CJ was. CJ's lower functioning, still lives in the home back in Pennsylvania, has a ton of supports. He's doing wonderfully. We just saw him a week ago, and he's 32 years old, is so happy, can read. He's beautiful and touches lives all over the place back in the community that he lives in. But for Danny, it was just helping him understand that this is kind of the progression, and always keeping him like that 5-minute rule that we have all the time, that we need 15 minutes for our kids sometimes, that you tell your typical kid, hey, in 5 minutes, we're out of the house, school time, or whatever. Our kids,
Right.
It might be an hour or whatever it takes to bribe them, as Cathy says, to get into the car to go to school, whatever it might be. Cathy was always aware of understanding of helping Danny know that this was ahead of him. So as it started getting him prepared for that, the job thing kept on ruminating through Cathy's mind, and then that's how the Danny's Farm thing came about. So when Danny was just getting ready to get out of the house, Danny's Farm was created. It was up in Altadena at a local stables that had been there ever since before homes were even built, grandfathered into the area, and we were able to move in there. Wonderful support from people all over the place. It ended up being so popular that the neighbors started complaining about the special ed buses that kept on coming. And so it was being, I'm not going to say forced out, but they were asking them to move. So when that was all happening, the Dodgers have always been so supportive of all the things that have been happening. Yay, they won the World Series. They were excited about helping us, that there was a big article in the LA Times about what was happening with Danny's Farm in the sports section. And the unbelievable response to that was just support throughout the community. Cathy got a call from Cal Poly Pomona. Hey, we've got a great opportunity for you guys to move this over here with us. We have a vet department. We have, kids that would love to come and shadow and mentor and all of that. So that was great. And then the funniest call of all, Cathy gets a phone call, and this guy goes, hi, this is Alec Baldwin. And Cathy goes, no, come on, you're punking me. It was Alec Baldwin that had called and read this in the paper and said, I want to help. What can I do to help?
Wow.
And Cathy and he connected, and they were able to. He did a fundraiser for us. He gave us $50,000, I believe.
Yeah, that's the reason we got the truck and trailer from him. And it looks like a barn. It's adorable to go out into the community. He was able to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Really yeah, what a good guy.
That's beautiful. It's the one thing I've noticed, and again, not to be a big Dodger fan, but the Dodger Foundation really does a lot of work in the community, really supportive of the community. So that's
very, very community minded. Yeah.
Beautiful to hear. So does Danny work on the farm? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Is Danny? That's his. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
He
his job.
started for a long time. He was doing, working, cleaning, like everybody else, starting with the muck. And now, I mean, he's grown so much. He does all the newsletters. He writes all the thank you notes. He does a lot of donor relations. And
he hosts the field trips, the virtual field trips.
He does a lot. He works really hard. He has a job coach.
Great.
And when Jim says independent, I just want to be clear, like independent from us. Like Danny, many of our kids at whatever level will need some supports forever. That's just the nature of it. But it was important to me that he wasn't depending on me. And the beauty of that is how much I've learned by letting go, and that maybe the way that I thought was best for him isn't always the best, and how much I've learned and been humbled by that experience. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity for parents to grow. And he is so much further along, I'm convinced, being that he has supported living services from Jane Nolan. I mean, he's got a huge, after this, we have a circle meeting, actually. We meet once a month because he has such a big circle of support, and we're all very connected and in touch. But, if something happens to us tomorrow, Danny's okay. You know what I mean? Like,
beautiful.
He's not dependent on mom, but that also creates, I can actually just be mom. I don't have to be job coach. I don't have to be therapist. I don't have to be behavior. I get to be mom, and we have a wonderful relationship of mother and son that we didn't have before. It was, I'm trying to push him. Yeah, the nag.
It's an amazing thing, and I think that, to your point, I remember when my daughter Jordan was diagnosed with learning disabilities when she was young. It was it was alarming to me, and I'm sure I felt the same way that you did as parents. First a gut check, and then I don't know, who do I blame for something going wrong, and the fingers pointed back here, and took all that on. But I'm a much better father. I have 3 children. I'm a much better father today because of the experiences that I had with my older daughter Jordan, and going through this. And to your point, our goal is to have our kids all live independent, whether they have special needs or they're neurotypical. We want our kids to grow and be independent. I think special needs parents, we're just a little bit more we get that experience a little bit more intensely because we're so hands-on early on, and the goal is to get them to that point of independence. I'm fortunate. My daughter's 25, and she now lives in upstate New York. She just got married in June. She has a car and a job, and she's, it's a beautiful thing. And she calls me every single day, which I absolutely love. There are times when I'm like, what is she going to call about today? But I'm so grateful for it. I love it. And in fact, it reminds me, and now I talk to every one of my kids every single day, because it reminds me that the whole purpose of all of this is to build, strong, independent, loving children who are going to, bloom and become successful adults in their own right. And if something happens to me, at least I know in her situation, she's going to be taken care of. I know Shawn feels the same way about his son, Elijah. And so we've been there together, right? We all know this path that you're on.
We're all facing the same issues.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Big family.
It's beautiful. And to your point, okay, go ahead, Shawn. Sorry. Shawn's going to try to say something.
Yeah, let the 5 minutes go by for my one sentence. Apologize for the technical delay. But tell us about Village, how it came about, because everybody can have an idea, but it is no small feat. Tell us how it came about. What it's like. Is there someone there, on the premises that assists with day-to-day living? Has that launched? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, thanks for asking. This is so much fun and so exciting and revolutionary, really. We're in very early stages, and I began consulting for an organization called ETTA, E-T-T-A, in Los Angeles, a pretty large service provider with very, very high quality services for adults with developmental differences. And they have a number of group homes and supporting individuals in the community, just like Danny's supported through supported living services in their own apartment. I mean, just lots of creative co-op model, really innovative agency. And I got to know I'm so privileged to know members chairing their gala, doing a lot of fundraising for them, met their their donors that are unbelievable. The generosity of people who don't have special needs kids, especially, that's what blows my mind, that they see that this is such a big need and they're so grateful for the, and it's like they just want to make the world better. So I feel like I'm just like this little tiny speck of the village, and I'm so privileged to be a board member of Cornerstone Housing, which is the entity that owns the building and will do the property managing. And then now I want to explain, because services are for the way that we serve, the way that we treat, the way that we value people with disabilities is ever evolving. And I know we have a long way to go, but when I really think about in just my lifetime, when there was no ADA, nothing, you're in a wheelchair. Sorry, buddy, you can't come in here. There's stairs, from that to institutionalizing. I mean, that was the thing. There's that little yellow bus that picked up the special needs kids if they were even at home, and they just went to some far off segregated school. Everything was segregated, and that was what, I don't fault the parent. I mean, that's what was thought was best. You institutionalize. So just that was it. To watching the Lanterman Act and inclusion, and now it's so much more than inclusion. It's about embracing and acceptance, and just learning to live in a world with neurodiversity where everybody has equal value. It doesn't matter, whether you have autism or Down, whatever. You are a beautiful human, and we love you. We want you here. So the village. It's more than an independent apartment community. It's about valuing each human being and really getting that message and showcasing. So couple things. The first, so it's a building, it's going to be on Pico, near Beverly Drive, so just south of Beverly Hills, like a prime, beautiful area of Los Angeles with lots of people, and it's kind of a transformative, getting to be like a younger, hipper place. The building is going to be gorgeous, and you look on the website and there's renderings and things. And we closed escrow in September. We just started the capital campaign right after that, and we've raised, we're getting close to 10 million, and we got to get to 15 million April 1, which is when we start planning the groundbreaking ceremony. So we're a few years out. So as far as talking, I can tell you in theory and what we're planning, and there's still a lot of things that are yet to be decided, but right now it's mostly, we've got to raise these funds. So that's been my primary role as a board member, is chairing and developing the whole capital campaign with the most incredible team. So all I'm good at is follow up and keeping it moving. But it's really the people with whom I'm so fortunate to be with.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So the building, the first floor is retail, and we're not at liberty to say who it is. We have a pretty good idea of who's in there, and it's implied, and they love it too, that our residents who want to work there, there's not just employment, but a whole training ground, vocational programs built in. Second floor is offices, communal kitchen, all kinds of gym, and wonderful, all kinds of programs that are available. And then there's 4 floors of residences, total of 64. Which it'll be inclusive. It's not all special needs, and we're not certain on the number yet, so I don't want to say how many. And then the rooftop is this cool, gorgeous hangout place for a venue for party. So it really invites the community in as much as the community is out. And then just again, kind of tying that all into what I was saying earlier, there's not like EDA won't be the only service provider there. That's not, you can't do that today, and nor everybody gets choice. So all of the residents with developmental disabilities have their own IPP. They either, are private pay or regional center or it doesn't matter. But they come in and they pick each resident. Nothing is scheduled, like you have to eat. You can't do this anymore and get federal funding, which is what funds regional centers. You have to give people choice. So everybody has their own kitchen, and but it's just an option, kind of like in a dorm. If you want to buy a meal plan, it's this much, and everybody will be invited to a huge menu of options, and a chance to decide what kind of things they want to have. But it's not a one size fits all. It's very customized.
And Cathy, was this concept based on something that's established and exists somewhere else, or will this be the first of its kind?
Yeah, it's bits and pieces. There's a wonderful program in Phoenix. There's Casa de Ama. There are, but this has been years in the development. And really, a woman named Hendel Schwartz, they have this absolutely beautiful son, Daniel, who has cerebral palsy, and so sweet. And they gave, the founding, a multi-million-dollar gift to get this going. And she had dreamed of something like this for Daniel. So, and all of us, and again, I really love that Danny is independent and of me. He does just get a little isolated and lonely, not at work, but then when he gets home, like a lot of our kids, he tends to go in his room, shut the door, and get on the computer, and everything's like that. So
sure,
this is we're very purposefully designing the space to encourage little hangout places and cool little nooks that'll, you can't go straight to your room without passing this little corner of like video gamers all gathered, whatever it's going to be. There'd be a variety of places so it's very thoughtfully planned for, for our people, but it's,
and it sounds fantastic. And is this then going to be the model of a first community that you see duplicating the effort? The second we finish this one, we'll be on to the next one. My hope, I'm only one board member, but the need for housing for people with significant behavioral communication lack of, just the hardest kids to serve. Sure.
That's what I want to find out, what it'll take and how we can best serve. That my hope is that's the next community we open. So it's a huge fundraising endeavor. That's what we rely on, is philanthropy to get this off the ground. It'll be self-sustaining once it's up, but it's
the fact that you've raised over $9 million towards your $15 million goal, that's significant. And good. I believe you. And so we're going to put on our site here, we'll put links to the village, and there's a capital campaign component on the site, I believe, right? For the village. Is there like a link to the capital campaign?
I can get you the village. Do you want me to put it in the chat or to you, or I can email it, or?
I think if you want to put it, let's put it in the chat, and then we have a technical support. Believe it or not, we have somebody who's going to grab it and add it to all of our social media stuff. I know it sounds hard to believe because Shawn's in delay mode, but
he's not here with me though.
And Danny's Farm, is Danny's Farm still raising money as well? Is that
Oh yeah.
Is that an ongoing fundraising effort as well?
Danny, since he's chairing the fall harvest fundraiser.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't talking to the person in charge. Maybe we'll do that next. That's fantastic.
I can't see. That's part of my problem. Can you actually paste a link right into there? Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I think so. I have never used the chat, and I know if I push a button, things are going to go haywire. So I'm kind of with you.
Well, let me just try that first.
We have a couple
Okay,
of them
try
on there
that.
so far as Cornerstone.
We have a couple on there already. Okay. Are they in the chat? It's all. Oh, Sean Hall. We have another. Our partner Sean Hall says it's all posted already, so you don't have to do anything. He says it's all done.
Okay, so I will erase that. But you are able to cut and paste right into the chat. So just so
okay,
you know.
That's good to know. Future reference. Okay, good. Yeah, we want to. We definitely want to do what we can and talk to as many people, and hopefully this reaches a large audience, and see if we can, do what we can to support you and your efforts. We had a guest on a few weeks ago, who we both absolutely love, a woman named Layla Luna, who has created a foundation based on a certain, again, personal experience of taking her son to a restaurant. And when her son had a bit of a meltdown, they were asked to leave their restaurant. And so she was, and we've all been there. Anybody who's dealt with a child with special needs, and we've all been there. And so her foundation is committed to creating an awareness for businesses so that they can understand how to set up times to be, sensory sensitive, and to create some time zones within their business day to allow folks who are having sensory issues to be able to come and enjoy. And it'll be interesting to have her connect with you. And when you talk about the retail spot there at the Village, to align forces there. Hers Just Be the Change, which I love, and it's a symbol of a little bee. So she's like, just be. And so we'll connect you two as well, because I think that
we love collaboration. Everything we love. We all just want to help families. And when you asked a question at the beginning, you said what kind of inspired you. Again, I'll go back to Lori, who connected me to a couple, Harvey and Connie Lapin. And I don't know if you know who the Lapins are, but they were one of the authors of the Lanterman Act and that whole legislation back in the day, and instrumental of why we have entitlements today in California. They're huge. And they're also the pioneers, a group of amazing people to create self-determination that's about to roll out. And I was so inspired by that. And I know that when our kids were living with us, I had no time. I couldn't focus on kind of the greater legislative statewide issues. But that was my inspiration to want to grow up and do things that pass it on. Because all these angels, like all of us, like look at all the people that have helped us. You just want to help someone else. I mean, it's so inspiring. Yeah. It's natural.
And folks who dedicate their time in their lives, and it goes beyond their own family, and it goes out to much larger community. It's such a blessing for us to see on a regular basis. We had an attorney, Georgiana Junko Kelman, who is an advocate for families when it comes to their IEPs and education. And with the pandemic causing school shutdowns right now, there's so much desperation for families who their kids, need to have that one-on-one instruction. They need to be in a classroom. They need to have, they're not sitting in front of a computer and doing Zoom education. It's not happening for a majority. And so she's one of those advocates that fights, is trying to fight and create some change at Sacramento, at least here in California, hopefully in other places as well, to put focus and effort in these areas where they need support, because without it, families who are dealing with special needs, they don't really know where to go. And that's why I was asking you. We were fortunate. My daughter's mother, my first wife, she was like you, Kathy. She was a warrior. Jim, I was like you. I was like, she's in charge. And she was just like, get into an early intervention program and connect with the right people and get to the regional centers. And this is what you do. And she's a massive, massive advocate for my daughter. And without knowing where to turn, you're lost. You're like a deer caught in headlights. And so having access to resources and having, again, we call them warriors like you that are leading the charge and changing our communities and changing our mindset so that we create, an advocacy that goes beyond the the special needs community and into the entire community as a whole. That's our goal. Our hope is to continue to support those efforts. And so we thank you guys for the work that you do. So blessed and so impressed by the work that you are all doing. And hopefully Shawn and I can continue to support your efforts and get out to our community as much as possible. And I can't wait for you to break ground on the village. Yes, sir.
I've got one thing that when Cathy was saying that we had been invited on this and got a chance to see what you two guys are doing, I think that the silent voice that's out there are the dads, and the dads that have these warrior Viking women that are leading the charge, and it's unbelievable what our wives and ex-wives and the women that are out there doing. And so many times we as dads are out with our work and our profession and coming back, and even with neurotypical kids, kind of being lost sometimes on how to discipline and how to be a partner with the parent, with the parenting and all of those things. And I just think how important it is for what you guys are doing, just to get that voice out there to say it's okay to grieve when you find out that you have a special ed child. And I ended up having two, and I was expecting all of my kids to play in the big leagues one day. And my perspective has changed for the better because of having a 32-year-old autistic son and this 27-year-old autistic son. I just know that I'm a better person. My heart is bigger. My world is brighter. And more importantly, because of the people that I continue to meet. Everywhere that I go, we had two guys on the grounds crew back in Philadelphia at the field that have special ed kids. There are people that we will do all kinds of different events that are going on where neurotypical fans are crazy to meet Bryce Harper and everybody else. And over in the little corner where I am, I'll have families that'll come up and just say, oh, I read about what you and your family have the same. I have an autistic son too. And just the connections that we continue to make. And for a dad, not feeling alone is the most important thing when I get that opportunity to spend time with my kids and know that I'm not flawed, that this is tough, and knowing that there is support out there and there is a voice to let dads know that this is a blessing, not.
Gotta freeze.
Oh no, there we go. We lost you there for a second.
There we go.
Jim, are you back?
Yeah.
I was just saying, I love you guys and keep it up. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. I joke about it all the time.
Thank you so much.
I think I've cried more in the last, 5 years or so than I have ever in my life as I get older and, as I deal with. And again, my daughter just got married. So, I flew across country in the pandemic to watch my daughter walk down the aisle. And that was to walk my daughter down the aisle. It was a great celebration. And more than just the wedding. It meant so much on such a grander scale. And so, Jim, my heart goes out to you. I know we have the same, I'm sure experienced some of the same things as dads do. And again, charging ahead, thinking that we've got it all together and we can handle it all. Shawn and I talk about this all the time. Having our warrior wives and the warrior women in our lives, it makes a big difference. But it's thank you. I appreciate the sentiment, because Shawn and I wanted this to be a thing where dads could come and have a safe place to have a conversation and be a little vulnerable and know that we're all just going to be better people. And as I always say, this, especially today, especially right now in our community, in our society, in our country, empathy and love is what it's all about. We've got to have some empathy and love. We seem to be lacking a lot of that at the moment, but hopefully we're an hour a week where people can do that and be there together. So thank you guys. I know, Shawn, do you want to say something? We can wait a half a second for the delay. You want to say something to finish this out? Or I know it's been a crazy experience. Okay. Every week something different. Right.
The first thing I'm going to say is this is the last time that we're going to see anything like this. And then in closing, I just wanted to say I appreciate Jim and Cathy. I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate everyone that is tuning in for the first time. I appreciate everyone that tunes in each week, including my good friend Robert Morehead, who is tuned in from the U.S. Virgin Islands, who is in third grade with me. And as always, want to thank my mom and my wife. We just talked about the warrior women in our lives. I wouldn't be here doing this without them. And for anybody watching, now more than ever, remember that somebody out there needs to know that you care. Somebody out there needs to know that they matter. And there's people out there who would trade in their challenges for yours any day of the week.
Yeah, for sure. Jim and Cathy, thank you guys so much. Again, we're so blessed to have spent this time with you. Yeah, thank you. And we can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the village. I can't wait to go visit Danny's farm. And hopefully one day we'll get the chance to meet and hug and maybe celebrate the Dodgers win and and share the same space together. So thank you guys so much again. Yeah, great to spend time with you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys again
Great
soon.
to see you guys. Bye-bye.
See you all next week.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. Shawn, are you going to end us, or are we going to be delayed in the ending here?
We're out.
We're out. Okay. We're good. That was fantastic. You guys are wonderful.